Hey everyone. Okay, so at this point I think we can all agree that Muller is a psychotic little cockroach regardless of time universe, right? Because that is the only way I can describe him in this chapter which when it comes to this asshole isn't anything new, yet somehow with each new version or reappearance, he somehow becomes even more unhinged and even more delusionally psychotic than he was last time. And now, combining that with the fact that he's acquired Zenless gravity powers, honestly makes him way more dangerous than he's ever been. And that's not even accounting for whatever else his new body can do, because the thing that worries me right now is that Muller called his new body the result of chemical fusion, which, for those who aren't aware, goes by another name, nuclear fusion, which, putting aside any possibilities of him harnessing the power of the sun for a moment, just the fact that Muller's harnessed nuclear fusion with his body means his body is running on one hell of a battery. Like, with the body he has, he doesn't need to be plugged in. He doesn't need, in order to recharge himself. He's running on a near limitless supply of power with that body he's having, which is. And the fact that he's working for O.N.E is even more reason to worry, because it makes you wonder what experiments has he conducted on the Void, and more so, what other twisted modifications he's made to himself, which, taking all these factors into consideration, even without having a full understanding of what he's capable of yet, I think it's going to take almost near everyone to beat him, or at bare minimum a combination of Hermit, Shiki, and Shura to take him down, or not even just Hermit, but the Arash, but the Shining Stars, and maybe even the Dark Stars as well. I don't know, I don't know. I want to say that Shura, Hermit, and Shiki are enough. Only because of Hermit's, like, how she knows him, how she's aware of Muller and whatnot, and how his psychosis works, but at the same time, I don't even know if that's enough anymore either. Also, I'm not going to lie, the fact that O.N.E is a known entity within Universe Zero is a little disturbing to me, because it just raises the question further, who is he exactly? Outside of just being a conqueror, outside of just being supposedly Mother's, like a program, an engram born of Mother, we learn, yeah, he's got wealth, he's got influence to match, but where did this come from? How did he obtain something that seems, how did he obtain all this? How did he even obtain just the ability to, something that seems to span the confines of Universe Zero? Like, the more we learn about this guy, the more the mystery just kind of grows. There's not a... And speaking of Shura, though, I love how things were resolved between him and Shiki, in the sense where they kind of had this mutual understanding. They needed to work together to stop Muller and O.N.E, but at the same time, you could say Shura still didn't give Shiki the satisfaction of being friends with, of saying what Shiki wanted to hear, because their exchange is basically Shura essentially saying, let's technically team up, but here's the deal. I'll look after my people, you'll look after yours. It's that sort of thing where we'll be working together, but we're not friends. And I do kind of like how it is that thing of where, regardless of universe or timeline, Shura doesn't really accept Shiki's hand of friendship, and in this case, not fully. And in that regard, I like how it does set up much more of a rivalry dynamic rather than a full-on antagonistic relationship or even a friendly relationship between the two of them, which, yeah, I am interested in seeing how that dynamic will play out now that we've got over the threshold of being antagonistic towards each other and just kind of rivals with each other now. At the same time, though, I like how Mashima does draw attention to the fact that, yeah, no matter what universe Shura is, no matter what universe it is in, Shura is an absolutely shit leader, just under different context. In our universe, it was because he was a great psychopath and practically a dictator. But in Universe Zero, it's because he's just shit at doing his job. Like, he doesn't know how to properly vet people, and He doesn't know how to properly vet people for the jobs needed. And in the case of Mueller, and how much do you want to fucking bet he's got several stacks of paperwork on his desk that he hasn't even signed or approved of yet? Like, you can just kind of tell that this version of Schur is the kind of leader who just puts shit off till the last second. So, I guess congratulations, Schur. You've become like every other politician in the entire world today. Although, I guess still credit where it's due, the one thing Schur has over most other politicians is he at least knows how to take responsibility for his actions when he's messed up. I don't think any politician knows how to take responsibility for their own fucking actions anymore in today's world. Like, yeah. But, so, yeah, that's... Again, I like how they do kind of how Mashima addresses this. Like, yeah, it is, but yeah, it is kind of his fault. He's got to take responsibility for this shit. But okay, with that said, I want to talk about what Laguna and the very solemn look he has on in that one panel, like before it goes into a whole comedic spat, because that one panel did leave enough of an impression where you can tell he's not fully ready to trust Shura, and I have to assume a large part of that is to do with Ijuna and him trying to understand how all of what he's seeing with Shura and Ijuna is even possible when in the world he knows Shura was a relentless psychopath who beat and abused Ijuna. So I think. So it's him just trying to come to terms with how is this even possible. So, and honestly, I think this is Mashima's way of trying to ease us into the idea of Shura's change by having Laguna be our surrogate, and every like possible narrative thread Mashima addresses in regards to this is going to be from his perspective. It's like through his eyes that we're going to see how he interacts with Ijuna and how they talk about the person Shura was, and how he knows him, as well as coming to terms with the person that Shura is now. So I could be possibly overthinking this, but if I were to pick who would be the perfect character perspective to show that through, Laguna kind of is the best choice to help us adjust to this idea, even if we as the reader may still have some reservations by the end of it all. But, yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, be sure to notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share it around, guys. Dark Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, everyone.